I remember one day being in a grocery store here in Norway and accidentally bumping into someone. And immediately I started over apologizing, like saying, I'm sorry 3 times in a row. But they just stared at me, completely silent. And that's when I realized, okay, I'm still too American. And honestly, that was the first time I realized some of my American habits just don't fit in here in Norway. Like the first one, smiling at strangers everywhere I go. So back in the US, literally anywhere you go or anyone you'll see, you just smile at them. It's so normal. Smile at the dog, smile at the baby, just smiling all the time. But here, I remember first trying to smile at someone on the tram and they looked at me like I've committed some sort of social crime. But then I learned that Norwegians don't smile at people unless they know them. It's not common to just go up to someone and just smile at them or look at them and smile at them. They'll think you're crazy if you do that. And I remember telling this to someone who lived in Norway and they were like, are you okay? And then I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, it's definitely not common for you guys to do this here. It's something I'll still do even though Norwegians look at me like I'm insane. All right, another habit that I found myself doing here in Norway that is definitely not common is holding the door for people that are so far away from me. So in the US, when I'm walking to like a mall or somewhere with a door, I'll hold the door for someone who's like 2 minutes away from me, like super far away. I'll just stand there holding the door, waiting for them to go in. But in Norway, I remember doing that and that didn't work out. People just close the door here and just move on. They don't like hold the door for 5 minutes. A lot of people, when I walk into like a mall, they don't hold the door. They just like open it and then go inside. And then I tried holding the door one time and people, they didn't even notice it. They just kept walking. And I was like, okay, this is not common here. And that is not something I should do because Norwegians will think I'm crazy. All right. And the next one, I could not forget this one, is cooking huge portion sizes when I'm at home. So in the US, all the portion sizes for meals are large, right? You'll get like one meal that can basically feed like a family of 4, and that's really common. You go to restaurants and you'll just order any food and it'll be like the size of your head. But then in Norway, I started to cook meals like I was in America, huge portions. And then I realized people don't eat large portions here. Most of the food is pretty small. You know, it fills you up, but it's not like crazy like in America. So then I started cooking too much and I was always have so much food left over that I would have to eat all by myself. And then I learned, okay, I gotta cook smaller portions because this is not America where people eat a lot of food. This is Norway where food is eaten until you're full, right? You don't overstuff yourself and you're not like consuming a ton of food. The next habit that I caught myself doing that Norwegians find so strange is being loud in public. Now this one was so common for me in the US. Every time I'd go on public transportation or outside, I'd always be talking so loudly, just like everyone else would be, right? I'd be using my outdoor voice indoors. But since coming to Norway, I have learned that that is not what you do, because I remember going on the bus and I was literally talking at what I thought was normal. But then I realized after talking for like 2 minutes, I was talking way louder than anyone on the bus and it sounded like I was basically screaming. And then I realized, okay, this is not normal and people don't do this here, because every time I go on a bus, everyone is so quiet and I always have to like whisper so quietly because I'm afraid people will think I'm talking too loudly or look at me like I'm insane and be like, oh, he's so loud. So that's something I found myself stop doing. Another thing I do that Norwegians find crazy is being overexpressive for basically anything. And back in the US, whenever someone would tell you good news or you'd hear something interesting, I would always be like, oh my God, that's so cool. There's no way. That's crazy. And that's common there, right? People are super overexpressive for the smallest things. But when coming to Norway, I remember being on the train for the first time and I was like, oh my God, this is so nice. This is so cool. Norwegians on the train were staring at me like, are you crazy? And in that moment, I felt very awkward. And after that, I was actually talking to a Norwegian and I did the same thing. And they just kind of smiled at me like trying to be friendly or polite. And then they told me, hey, you know, we don't do that here. It's like if somebody won the lottery in Norway, people would just be like, oh, that's pretty cool. They're so chill about stuff, so normal. They're not going to be overexpressive, expressing all their emotions. And then I thought, hey, this is actually a nicer way to live. All right, so the next habit that Norwegians found strange was over apologizing. And this is something I still do and used to do all the time, because back in the US, it's very common to over apologize for the smallest things. You know, if you spill something, if you bump into someone, people will just say, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Can I help you with this? Can I help you clean this up? Whatever it is, they'll over apologize a million times. times, and it's so common, right? But I remember coming to Norway and I was in a grocery store the first time I was here, and I bumped into someone, and I remember them staring at me, not even saying anything, just doing a slight nod, maybe a little smile, and then continuing on with their day. And I thought at first they were being cold, but then I realized Norwegians don't feel guilty for existing in public spaces, and their way of over apologizing is just giving you a quick nod, maybe a quick smile. They're not going to try and talk to you, make it awkward. They're just going to acknowledge they did it, which I found to be very peaceful and very calming, because it's easier than having to talk. Maybe if it's awkward or if you're embarrassed, you don't have to do that. You can just look at them, smile, and continue. And every time I bring this up to Norwegians, they just laugh and think I'm insane. They're like, you're apologizing 3 times in a row for something that maybe you couldn't have controlled or was a complete accident? And I'm like, yeah, that's normal, right? And they're like, no, we don't do that. All right, and the last habit that Norwegians find so strange is saying how are you everywhere. Back in the US, basically everywhere I would go, I would always say how are you to the cashier. Literally, how are you is just the norm. People say it, and usually most people won't give a true answer. They'll just say, I'm good, you know, the usual stuff. But when I came to Norway, I learned that people don't say how are you all the time. But if they do, they'll usually give you a real answer. They're not gonna lie or sugarcoat it. Most people will just say the truth and explain how they actually are, which I found to be so interesting, because I would always expect most people to fake saying it, right? But here it feels so real when people answer you. And I learned that it's not normal to just say it everywhere, right? You shouldn't be saying it everywhere. You should only say it when it matters, or when you're actually talking to someone you know. You don't just say it to a random person, because if you do, they'll probably look at you like you're crazy. So that was the last habit I do that Norwegians found strange. All right, guys, and that does it for the video. American habits that Norwegians find very strange. So if you guys enjoy this video, let me know by leaving a like, make sure you subscribe, and leave a comment. Let me know what habits you do in your country, or what you think about the habits I did in America. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Nicolas signing off. Bam. Peace.